Hello, most awesome Sims 2 fans, and thanks for joining me for another renovation. This is actually more of a build video. This is called the Landgraab Shopping Center. It was actually originally the PLEASANTVIEW Shopping Center on Mod The Sims, and I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can get these little buildings. I did edit them already. The bar on the closest side to you, I edited, and the restaurant on the other side was a pet store, and I've edited that as well. I've also added the Christmas tree shop because you're going to hear a lot about me being a New Yorker. I love walking on the sidewalks between Christmas trees, smelling the pine. And I also like my Sims shopping at Christmas, but that stays up all year round for me because just like Christmas lights on your house, I can't be bothered to take it down. So all year long, my Christmas pop-up shop is there. This is going to be a more relaxing build because I had a lot of trouble last week. Go watch that build. And I just wanted something relaxing. Okay, so good intentions. It was not quite as relaxing as what I thought. So this video is going to be done in two parts. First, we're going to do some of my favorite things. We're going to take the signs down and we're going to lop off the roofs. So once I chop off their heads, I'm going to explain to you that this video is in two parts. The first part is going to be us building the apartments on the Landgraab Shopping Center. And the second part is going to be us decorating the apartments. So what I want to do here today is get the apartments so that we can show them to prospective clients for Mr. Malcolm Landgraab. He has hired us to do that. So we need to get these apartments set up and ready. That means we need the kitchens, the bathrooms, we need it carpeted, flooring, wallpaper, so that we can rent these apartments. And then next week, or when I release my next build, usually it's on Wednesdays, we will have them decorated because the new people will have moved in. So join me for the stunning conclusion. You're going to also see that my OCD has kicked in heavily. I think it was because in my head I kept calling this scaffolding, but it wasn't scaffolding, it was just the steps. But in my head I had the word scaffolding, so I kept going back and forth to these steps. At one point I think I rubbed the speed build like 8 times because I kept playing with pillars. But here we're going to start building the apartment, and I'm thinking originally we are going to put 2 apartments in here, and you'll see in a second that was just a little bit too ambitious and I just don't have the room. If you guys are loving my content, please consider liking and subscribing, and any comments that would help me would be greatly appreciated. So here I go. I'm setting this up. I'm thinking I'm going to put a main door and 2 apartment doors on the inside so that we could have 2 apartments. Once I put a large bed in here, though, I realized how small these apartments are. In all reality, if you're in New York, somebody who lives in New York in like a walk-up style apartment, you'll be like, oh my God, these apartments are so roomy. I could put like 10 people in there, which is true. But in sim life, you know, as much as I torture my Sims, we want them to live some of their best life. This is really cool. That was a platform floor on top of the roof. And what that did was that added levels and layers so that the roof was just a tiny bit higher than the other roof, which I thought was really cool. And I do end up using that later in the build. So here I am. I'm going to throw some signs back over here. Later, I will fix that sign is not centered. You'll see me kind of descend into madness as we go further and further along. I do love using cheats such as this off the grid one to help me center the sign, but they do kind of aid in my craziness. I did think originally of using some of the fun windows from below, but then I wanted to have, like you see in New York, air conditioning units and things hanging out of the front windows. So I use regular style windows, which is something that you do classically see, and you're going to see me mess around with that. I am also moving the bushes so that you can get around to the back of the apartment where we're going to put the other set of steps, not scaffolding. I have to keep reminding my mind of this, and I'm going to mess with that. Pretty soon here you will see me rev this thing up so that I can mess with whatever I was doing for the stairway. I do add basic doors out here. I looked at apartment doors and then didn't put them on because they were going to be on the inside. Apartments do not work on community lots. I do understand that there is a mod to have apartments and community lots work together. I do not use that mod. This was just for aesthetic purposes. I just liked the idea of it. It had been on my mind, and because I build a lot, it's just my happy place. I know a lot of you are going to be like, her happy place, she seems absolutely crazy, especially once I get going here with the columns. But this is what I do to relax. And my kids are like, Mom, you should just totally record yourself doing this. And so that's how these last couple of videos came to be, because I do. So here we go. I'm centering this. So the columns, I don't know what kicked in once I started doing the columns, but I'm going back here, and once I finish the columns, I'm looking at the back, and something clicked in my brain, and I said, this is not up to fire safety code. And as I'm looking at this, I'm saying, if there was a fire in the middle of this restaurant, let's say, my cooks would be trapped in the back and they couldn't get out. Like, it would never be up to the fire code. I mean, I get that Malcolm Landgraab is a money grubber and everything, but I don't think he'd want his cooks to burn to death. So here I go. You're going to watch me go on a total crazy bender about putting these doors in because they had to be up to fire code. So now the Pleasant View in my Uberville fire code is there needs to be exit doors. I don't know where that came from. That is really a note. I make notes to myself about what I was thinking, because sometimes I do these voiceovers and I go, what the heck were you thinking? This is really a real thought that I had to myself. So, all right, so now the restaurant is up to fire code. And I also think it looks better. Like, it was kind of boring on the back, but now you're going to see me do something really crazy. I think, it'd be nice to line the back with bushes. So while you can escape from the fire, bring your hedge clippers, because you're going to get stuck and burn alive in the hedges. But I at least gave you a running start. So while I do talk a lot about how my Sims die and the weird things that go on in my Sims game, you can get out the door. I just want you to know whether you survive or not once you get out. I cannot be responsible for. I don't know. I probably should have put fire alarms and stuff in there now that I'm thinking about it. So that was my train of thought. So I have now become the Pleasant View Fire Inspector, and you'll see me go through this in this whole video here. Let's talk a little bit about Malcolm Landgraab. Malcolm was a wealthy business owner. Who is it? Not Dina. Dina married Mortimer Goth. And he was so depressed after the disappearance of Bella. Bella. But she got all of his money, but her sister married Malcolm. And Malcolm was very young, had a lot of money, and he's also wanted to be a criminal. So what he did was, in the essence of his name, he's a Landgraab. So they own the only car dealership in town, and they don't technically own these shops, but it's named after them. They somehow are involved in my last build with the community pool that burned to the ground. So they're all involved in the goings on of this town. So they have become the cornerstone of the town, when it was really the Goths originally who created Pleasantville. They were the founding families, but now the Landgraabs have come in and they are here to stay. So they are the slumlords right now that are dealing with this apartment. So I've decided at this point, you saw me bust down the wall. Some of my favorite things to do is demolition. And I've busted down the wall and I'm going, okay, where are we putting the kitchen? So a cheap kitchen. I've decided that this is going to be patterned after one of my Upper East Side apartments. And it was this 4th floor walk up. It was dingy. It was horrible, but I loved it. I was so happy to be in New York when I got there. And so that's what I'm going for. And I was going to put another window up there, and then I realized, oops, I don't have a door. The fire inspector would not be happy. So anyway, so we put another doorway, and now I'm deciding on the first apartment where I want the room and the bathroom. So you're going to see me, we need little tiny bathrooms in here, and everything in New York is very, very small for a lot of money. And this isn't New York, so they got more room. They totally would not have gotten this room if they had been in New York, but they are in my Uber Pleasantville. And so things are cheaper. Here I put in 2 closets thinking they needed storage space and realized I blocked the bathroom. So we'll get rid of one closet and we're gonna put the other closet next to the doorway as like a coat closet. Usually in smaller apartments, you do have 1 or 2 large closets because storage space is a big issue. Anybody who lives in small apartments knows that that is true. In fact, I had this clothing rack in my very small, it was like an oversized 1-bedroom, and my daughter had come to live with me temporarily. And it was this large clothing rack and it was behind my bed, and I had about 200 pounds of clothes on this rack because it was my only thing that I had in this apartment. And I had plastic containers on the top. And so this is behind my bed, and we have him, this giant Maine Coon cat named Lucian. Up there I put the closet by the door, and we're going to separate the kitchen from the living area. Anyway, this Lucian, he is mayhem. He would jump on top of this thing with all of the bins in the middle of the night, and he would want to get cozy, and he would push the bins on top of me on the bed. But yeah, it was good times. So I decided that this is going to be a 2-bedroom apartment. And my thought process here at this point is maybe this could be like a single mom and a daughter in this little apartment. We'll make it good and grungy. Oh, I was going to try to put the basketball net back over here, but then I was thinking, the restaurant's there. People would not pay the money for a decent, it's supposed to be like a nicer, like Italian restaurant or something, but you're not going to pay that if kids are throwing basketball. So anyways, we got rid of the basketball. Zoning ordinance. When I'm not the fire inspector, I am also zoning. So over here, for whatever reason, I thought that this was exactly the same size as the other apartment. Clearly, if you're just looking at the screen, you're hollering at it, "No, tipsy mommy shark." You're wrong. Yeah, I get it now when I was looking at the screen. But when I was first building, I was going to completely mirror what I had done in the first apartment. And it wasn't until later that I realized, hey, these apartments are not the same size. So yeah, I don't know. I get into these zones. Remember, I usually do this after, an 8 or 10 hour work day. And so I'm not always completely with it. I realize here that my plumbing did not have a wall in that first bathroom. So I do draw a wall over there. And I'm messing around with the second bathroom. And I realize that that bathroom is too big. And I draw a wall right next to the toilet because in New York, if your knees are not hitting like the sink, the bathroom is too big. In fact, in my bathroom, literally your knees were hitting the sink, and I had a pole for the heating apparatus that came up through the middle of the bathroom. So you had to be careful that not only did your knees not hit the sink, but that you didn't burn yourself, because in the winter it'd be like scalding hot, that getting up, you did not like burn yourself to death. It was like Freddy Krueger's boiling room, but I love this apartment. So here I'm putting in the second closet here because I was making like a hallway and I didn't like that. I thought we'll just close this off and make like a nice little hall here. I mean, these apartments are so big, it's like living in Queens. So I come back over here. I figure we're going to put the other closet close to the door. So again, it's like a coat closet, but first I'm going to mess with the kitchen. I do move the refrigerator, and I meant to copy the stove. My daughter laughed very hard like I stole the stove from the other apartment. I meant to copy it, but again, squirrel. And here I am messing around thinking, okay, I now know where to put the closet. I do like kind of how the closets ended up in this apartment better than the first apartment, but I kind of like that the apartments were similar, but just a teensy bit kind of unique, like their own space. And here you're going to see me. I kept wanting to make this a 2-bedroom, but because of the way I set it up, it just wasn't going to work. And I'm thinking at this time, well, maybe this could be like a single person in one, and then the mom and the kid in the other one when we're decorating, because I'm still trying to come up with what would the decor items be. So here we go. I'm going to be doing roofs. I am going to put the platform back on the other roof because I love the idea of the roofs all being a little tiny bit different here. And I always feel like when you're walking through New York, even if the roofs are all the same height, if you look up because of the ornaments on them or whatever, even when all the buildings are joined, they are still all different. It's really kind of neat how it looks. And you know, if you're in a particular section, like they might all be apartments in one area, and then they might be stores with apartments over them. And it's just like really neat to look at the architecture. So the next time you're in a city, look up. So I felt this building was a little tiny bit boring. So you are going to see me put a little tiny bit of trim here. I should go back and put corner pieces on because I just feel like you can see it's looking a little wonky. Here's my picture of New York. I wanted to throw it in there for you as I'm adding the platform roof on the other building. And you see what I mean? They're the same heights and things, but they're all different. Each building has its own differential. Even some of the buildings that look almost identical, the scaffolding might be a little bit different. The windows might be a little bit different. And I just love that. So here I threw that platform roof on the top of this building just to give it a little tiny bit of height. And it might have been this build, it might have been one other build, but these creators who do this kind of stuff, they are way more creative than I am. And I love seeing that kind of creativity, and they're awesome. I love learning from them. So that's a huge tip that I recommend for some of you guys to make builds interesting, because some tips like this are very easy. Once I got that, I remembered all that, and then once I got to, hey, wait, what kind of little topper was on here? What kind of roof piece? And I forgot. So you're gonna see me here mess with a couple different roof pieces, and I could have played the video back because, you know, I did record it. But no, I couldn't be bothered. I'm like, you know, a guy who doesn't ask for directions. Forget it. We are full steam ahead at this point. And, you know, I guess it was that fire inspector, zoning inspector. Well, now I am driving in one direction. So I pulled out a bathroom. So here we go. I decide we're just going to make it white. The roof, the trim is white, and it will be fine. And so here we go. And I think some of this too is I get tired. I'm usually doing these again after work, and I'm just kind of having fun with this. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, this will be fine. It's no problem. And then, you know, you end up with blinking screens and crashing videos and things like that. But I do think it ends up looking really nice. I mean, it's not exactly what it was. If you go back and you look, it's not what it was at the beginning of the video, but I think it looks nice. I mean, very, very, very nice. I'm going to pretend that if you look at the back of that apartment, that the windows are not black, because that is making me crazy since I watched the playback of this video. I seriously didn't notice it before. We are throwing some lights up here because we don't want anybody suing Malcolm Landgraab for them slipping down those slippy looking steps. I'm sure they're slippery when it rains. We're coming into the apartment and we're getting down to the very end of the video here. I hope you've stayed with me this long. And I'm going to do my favorite thing. I'm using pink tile in the bathroom. Absolutely reminds me of my apartment in Manhattan that I've been telling you about. It was pink tile with bright pink floor. Like even the tile in the tub was bright pink. Now I didn't use a bright pink floor. We have this great grungy tile that came with the Sims 2. And I use that because I want it to be grungy. I'm going to use some Sims 4:2 conversions in a second to make it even grungier. But before I do that, I find wallpaper that's grungy. And this, I think, is from either Gets Work or City Living in Sims 4. And that's another great thing. I will make sure that the link is down below for where I get my Sims 4:2 conversions. The people who do that kind of work, I think, are the most amazing people. The creators that keep the Sims 2 alive. I think I say this in every video. I'm amazed by them because I, of course, can't do that kind of thing and would love to. So we do that, and you're going to see me do a couple different paint colors in here. Probably knowing Malcolm Landgraab as closely as I do, I doubt he would take the time to change the wall colors, but I did think we didn't want this to be a brand new build. This was supposed to have been here for a while. So, you know, maybe a couple different tenants, couple different paint colors. I don't have the grungy flooring from The Sims 4. And so I was thinking, well, maybe the flooring was so bad. The carpets have been changed recently, but I did just use dark carpets kind of to simulate that it was not nice carpeting. I'm going to throw in a couple of lights. So I only put lights in the kitchens and the bathroom and down the hall in the closets, like only where you had to. And to be honest, that would have been probably the most you would have got. I mean, that would be good. I did not even have receptacles in the bathroom on my Upper East Side apartment. I'm giving them each 2 air conditioners. I say this also in every build that the weather affects my Sims greatly because of a mod. So if anybody does go up here, we don't want them passing out from the heat. And I did actually have an air conditioning one in my bedroom in Manhattan. So I thought that kind of reminded me of it too. And it was braced so that it couldn't fall and crush all the people below. So that's kind of a fun fact. And so anyway, so I kind of feel like, you know, Malcolm Landgraab would be proud of these apartments. This is pretty much the end of it. I am going to leave me fussing around with some shelving in the kitchen, but you can kind of take a look at what these apartments look like while I'm just blabbing. The reason I did that was I just hated, here we go again, I clicked into something and just couldn't stop. I hated that we don't have upper cabinets, and I might try to find that for next week, but in my head, typically you'd have something, and I do end up getting rid of all of these pretty much and just putting the shelves. I do have Sims 42 conversion of, I think it's the country living kitchen, and they have the neat little shelves that you put the dishes in. And again, I was like, well, who wouldn't want a place to put your dishes? Not that many people in small apartments cook, but these are actually decent sized apartments. I mean, I think we could do, as you look at this, maybe a little tiny eat-in kitchen, certainly have enough room for a couch in here and computer. In the other apartment, definitely eat-in kitchen, totally a kid's room, couch and a TV. I mean, for sure, you have enough space in here to live. So while these are itty bitty apartments in some estimation, they're still big enough to support a family on one side and very nice sized if we stick a single sim in the other side. So we'll come up with some great ideas for decorating. Here you're going to see where I find the cabinet for the plates, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So remember to drop by next week for part 2, the stunning conclusion of this build. And if you have any ideas for how you'd like to decorate, please comment below. We're going to snap over here in just a second to live mode. We're only going to do just a brief view, a teaser for next week. And I want to thank you all for watching, and I wish you happy simming. Bye bye.